Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? Aye, you'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, where we attempt to find the best game within a very specific category. For example, this week we're looking for the best game that has horse armour, but you can't pick Oblivion. I had to make sure nobody was allowed to pick Oblivion, because otherwise the first person to pick Oblivion would have won, and that would put Tom at even more of a disadvantage than normal. Horse armour was invented by the Parthians in ancient times, who needed a strong and highly mobile army in order to protect their interests along the trade routes between the Roman Empire and the Chinese Han Empire, who were basically the two superpowers of their day, and keeping them apart, keeping them separate in order to act as a sort of unofficial middleman between them was the entire basis of the Parthian economy, which is all about taxing trade routes. So it was a position that they jealously guarded, and having a cavalry who were hard to kill was, as you can imagine, a huge part of that. In recent times, horse armour has become an easy way for games companies to fleece idiots out of their hard-earned cash for cosmetic items, often in entirely single-player experiences where other people don't even get to see what you're wearing. Essentially, it's a tax on being gullible, which the Parthian state would surely have approved of, meaning that the whole enterprise has come full circle. Speaking of things that are boring and ancient, I'm joined today by Tom Ori.
Right, was that? I didn't listen to it, so was that a dig or not?
It was, yeah, kind of. It was a long and rambling one. I thought I was being funny by making it long and rambling, but I actually just done myself in. So
everybody just knows all of that info.
It took about five takes, didn't you? No one will know, but I mean,
don't tell people that.
It took about an hour to get that done. It's like when a TV episode has the title card come up after the first ad break. It's like, what are they doing?
Right. Okay, look, I'm sorry. I'm also joined by Kelsey Rayner and James Billcliffe, because we need someone to not pick Football Manager, essentially.
You don't know that, Jim.
What, have you picked Football Manager as well?
Maybe.
There's got to be an episode one day where everyone just picks Football Manager.
That'll ruin it, won't it?
Yeah, that'll be the last
That
one.
would be the day that Tom's joke dies.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be the day that Tom picks something else, surely.
Can I go first?
You want to go first?
Yeah.
Why?
I just feel like I've got to get mine out first, because it's such a unique choice.
I have to go along with this because he'll have worked out a bit that absolutely hinges on him going first. So if I don't let him, it's going to ruin something, isn't it?
No, I just want to go first.
All right,
That's
okay.
it, really.
All right, well, you
It's quite a long. It's a bit of a shame because you've just had a big long load of spiel about that, and this is also a bit of a long story.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Is it about the Parthian Empire?
It's not. Imagine if it was. That'd have been a surprise. Am I allowed to go first, Jim, or not?
Does Football Manager cover any leagues from before the fall of Constantinople? No. All right. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. All right. I'll let you go first, Tom, since you asked so nicely.
This is very long-winded. Just to warn everyone. Right.
That's fine. The whole thing's been long-winded so far.
Right. So you got to cast your eye back, or your look at history back to 1976.
Okay.
April 20, 1976 was the day I don't know how to describe something this great, a colossus of its world was born. It's named Winston. April 20, 1976, Winston was born. Winston was to become a world champion show jumping horse, right? Mm-hmm. He was born on a farm where horses often are in Belgium, and he became so great and so large that he was affectionately called, and he had the nickname Big Ben. Right? Okay. Big Ben, the world champion show jumping horse, sadly died in December 1999, so no longer with us, but is well regarded as one of the greatest show jumping horses of all time. He even survived an accident in 1992 when his horse trailer overturned. He was such a strong horse that he managed to live beyond that. So he retired in 1994 after 11 years of competition, and is looked fondly on by the show jumping community as one of the greatest, Big Ben. Right, so we've got the story of Big Ben established. As you may understand, it is a horse. Yes? Right.
Yeah.
Now, April 1998, a man was born. This man was from the Armour family.
Right.
Stay with it.
Okay.
Right. So this man, he went on, as you may have already worked out, to become a footballer.
Yeah.
He's not the most high-profile footballer of all time. He currently plays for Forth Athletic in Scotland, in Scottish League 2.
Yeah.
But the point being, he is a footballer, and his surname is Armour.
Yeah.
And this is where the story takes on a new sort of higher level. Right.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I just caught a glimpse of James and lost it. Sorry, carry on.
this man's parents, do you have a guess at what maybe they were very into?
Scale
Gambling?
Horse show jumping.
Right.
Right. So this man, who's a professional footballer, they were like, what do we call our son who may go on to become a professional footballer?
Yeah.
But we love show jumping. Like, what is one of our favourite show jumping horses? I know. Good old Big Ben. Right? So this professional footballer, Ben Armour, appears in Football Manager. And essentially what we're saying there, Ben, the horse, Armour.
Was he actually named after the horse?
100% accurate.
And does he get called Big Ben? And is that become his nickname subsequently?
I don't know about if he's called Big Ben.
Is he a large man or a very small one? Because either would result in him being called Big Ben.
Look, I don't know if I copied down his stats into my document. All right, it doesn't have height of League 2 Scottish footballers on Wikipedia.
So this is the link. So he was named after a horse, and his surname is Armour.
Yeah.
Where's the source that he was named after this horse, though?
You just got to go with it. I mean,
I'm not sure I trust this.
It's whispers,
Source, trust me, bro.
Whispers, like the community. It's the thing they talk about.
The people of Forfar. I've been to Forfar.
You know that the badge of Kiev Verona is like literally a jouster with a horse in armour, don't you?
Who cares? This is a much better story about two different worlds coming together.
Yeah.
One of horses and one of footballers.
Yeah.
And therefore, the actual answer is it can only happen with like magic. Like magic happened to make this an actual choice that would qualify to win this podcast.
Yeah, rather like the links between the Roman Empire and the Chinese Han Dynasty. Just, stretching across time. So, yeah.
I'm so done.
I'm usually down with these.
Look, I didn't pick bloody Horse Armour as a topic, did I?
No, but it was the most topical. Was it? I think it was James Bilcliffe that picked this topic, wasn't it?
No, don't pin this on me. This was this. I said that there was a correct answer to this one, and we shouldn't do it. And then you disqualified the best game of all time.
I just went off half cocked. Based on one Slack message, which is about right. I gave a sneak preview of this topic to people in the Jim Trinka Discord, which is a thing. And one user suggested an argument that you could go with, Tom. And he said, horse armour is technically called barding. And there's a Kenyan high school football team called barding. If you could find an alumni that somehow made it to Wigan Athletic, for example.
I thought about that. I crossed it off. I thought this was about a story.
I don't know if that would have actually panned out, but it's amazing how there's so many ways you can link these topics together back to Football Manager.
I feel like it's gotten to a point where Football Manager should be paying you for this.
They don't even know this is happening.
Oh, we've tried the tweets.
I tweeted at them a few times. They were like, no, not engaging.
They're like, nah, just take one look at it. Like, we're not having this. I also find it quite funny that you haven't actually yet confirmed whether or not Football Manager is your submission.
I said it was in Football Manager, yeah. Ben Armour is in Football Manager.
Yeah, but you know what you like, Tom.
Horse Armour is in Football Manager.
Big Ben Horse Armour. Yeah, but you know what you like, Tom, because you'll go off on one about like Kane and Lynch 2, only to switch your route back to Football Manager.
I thought
at the
we wouldn't have time for that this time.
So I just wanted to double check. It is Football Manager 2023. Is he in 2023?
He's been in a lot of them. Like he's been playing for a few years, so pick a few.
Right, a non-specific Football Manager game. All right, thank you very much for that, Tom. Okay, all right, Kelsey, what would you like to bring to the table?
A lot to live up to here. This is gonna. You've got to aim high, Kelsey. Aim high.
So you said that I couldn't go for Oblivion, which kind of also ruled out Skyrim. So I went for the next best thing.
Did it rule out Skyrim?
It did not rule out Skyrim.
It did. Is there horses in Skyrim? Horse armor?
Wow, I don't think so.
There's definitely horses. I'm not sure if there's armor.
I've played a lot of Skyrim, but I have never bothered with a horse. So this is good information. But anyway, I ruled out Skyrim because of that as is. And I went for the next best thing. And I went for Return to Monkey Island. There was a pre-order item for Return to Monkey Island, which happened to be horse armor. And if you're familiar with this game whatsoever, you'll know that there isn't a horse in it. So already our horse armor is rendered useless. Yeah. But there's a few things you can do with it. And I think you can take it to a couple of characters and be like, hey, do you want to use my horse armor? And they're not interested.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a crap about it. But there is one guy that you can try and give it to, and he's like, oh, I've already had my full of horse armor. It's a great marketing gimmick, you know? And that is exactly why the horse armor is in the game. Simply to take the piss out of Oblivion. And it was a great game, but it has this little bit of pointless horse armor in it that feels close enough to Oblivion that I was like, right, I want to pick this.
Which Monkey Island? Is this the new one? Is this the new Monkey Island?
The new one, yeah. This is the only Monkey Island since Oblivion, isn't there?
I can't remember when they did Telltale make one. When did that happen?
That was when they did like 6 games every 3 weeks.
It's like nobody can remember the Telltale Monkey Island. It doesn't count.
It was probably brilliant and had lots of great characters, but there was The Wolf Among Us, there was The Walking Dead, like 7 series of that. There was the Borderlands one. God. We can only dream that they get back to that with these just random Amazon series.
You're listing the good ones. There was like Back to the Future and Jurassic Park and like all the crap ones as well.
Max, they did Sam & Max, didn't they?
Sam & Max, that was. They did like 4 seasons of that or something, which was also crap.
So Kelsey's choice then, it's a good choice. It's a bit of as a joke. It's a bit dated, isn't it? If you're going to make a game now. Really should. Are you referencing Oblivion still?
I don't think it is a dated joke. Oblivion's timeless.
But it's an old meme, isn't it? It's a very old meme.
Yeah, but it's
for
come
a game
back
that came
full
out in
circle.
2022.
We're literally only doing this because Diablo 4 has horse armor.
Horse armor that is purely cosmetic.
That's just because they want horse armor. It's not because
it's because everyone loves horse armor.
Yeah,
you've got a horse and people want to dress up a horse.
Everyone loves horse armor, and this is confirmed by the fact that the horse armor DLC, despite how maligned it was at the time, is actually Oblivion's best-selling piece of DLC. Would you believe?
More than Shivering Isles, the greatest DLC of all time.
Yeah, sold better than Shivering Isles, sold better than Knights of the Nine, sold better than that like house you get that's at the bottom of a swamp.
That has chilled me to
all
the
that.
core.
Yeah. So
as Stanman in Return to Monkey Island says, everybody's a sucker for horse armor.
It's true.
It's so true.
It's a completely historical fact that everyone's a sucker for horse armor.
Even if it's just going to sit in your inventory and do nothing for the entire game, everybody loves a bit of horse armor.
I guess the theme of this episode is that people create their own hell, right?
Is that the theme of this?
I mean, it feels the theme of your role in this podcast.
I had no clue that was the theme of this podcast.
Return to Monkey Island is good. It's also a really good game as well. So it's,
is it? I've not played it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's funny.
It's like, you know how Monkey Island, like the first 2 were really good, and then it kind of goes off piste a bit, and then you get to the Telltale ones that are like, the Telltale ones are a bit like unmemorable and a bit crap. But it's a direct sequel to the first 2 games, and it doesn't ignore the other ones, but it kind of brings it back to what the 3rd game should have been. And yeah, it's pretty good.
So it's one of those games that is actually funny rather than it's a funny game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Exactly.
The voice acting's great.
It's not Borderlands. It's it's got good jokes in it.
Don't people like the Borderlands one, the first one? I know we rip into Borderlands quite a lot, but I thought Tales from Borderlands was well loved.
That was one of the better Borderlands games, funnily enough. But the Telltale one was really good. Like, I liked it, and I had no investment in Borderlands whatsoever. But didn't Gearbox try to do a sequel to the Telltale game?
And the sequel just didn't really do much.
Yeah, it just died on its arse because I guess people don't trust Randy Pitchford to write jokes. We've done 17 minutes of this now, Tom.
It's flown by.
Speaking of flowing by, that doesn't even work as a joke, as a segue. James, what have you got for us?
So, in protest for the format, I have chosen the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
You can't do that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see if you'd let me roll with it. If you'd throw caution to the wind and come
Absolutely
with me on a magical journey.
It's a rules-based podcast, James. If we don't have rules, we've got nothing.
Do you not want to talk about Sir Pat? Do you not want to talk about that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I'll go with my real choice.
Sir Pat over my 38 years.
Yeah, because you're not going to let me choose the game with the greatest DLC of all time. I'll choose the game with the second greatest DLC of all time, which is, of course, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Go with that.
And it's kind of neck and neck, actually, because the Hearts of Stone DLC, extremely good, kind of underrated in comparison to the Blood and Wine DLC, which is extremely good, but I like the tighter story of Hearts of Stone. But I digress. What we're talking about today is the Horse Armour, and The Witcher 3 might seem like a little bit of an obvious choice, but it not only has horse armour in general, but the best horse armour going, doesn't it? All of the armour in Witcher 3 is incredible. That just the way that it's kind of designed and how it looks, and the variety of the different world building aspects that you can pack into these different models, and how it's so layered and interesting, and you can tell that all of the different fabrics actually have kind of weight and texture and feel to them, and the armor in The Witcher 3 is just beautiful. And that goes over into the actual mechanically interesting horse armor, which everybody loves a bit of Roach. She goes on top of the building, she runs off the road, but you love her anyway. And I like how the horse armor directly kind of raises or lowers, depending on how you want to look at it, her fear level with if she's scared of the monsters, we must protect the Roach. She's great. And the horse armor is great because it protects her. It keeps her feeling safe and it keeps her well. And that's why I really like it. Just one of the reasons why I really like it. The second reason I really like it is because a particular aspect of the horse armor is that you can just have severed heads of the monsters that you've destroyed on your journey. You can just strap them to the horse, and that's horse armor. How cool is that? Heavy metal.
Is that horse armor, or are you just hanging trophies off your horse armor?
It comes in the same category of it.
It's sort of like trying to say that the fridge magnet's part of the fridge, isn't it?
It kind of is.
The memories that the fridge magnet represent, they do become part of the appliance, and the part of the appliance that forms that part of your life, right?
Yeah. All right.
Well, okay. I'm touched.
I was thinking of fridges then.
With the trophies, I was looking at them earlier to refresh my memory, and you can have the Doppler head, which I thought in the Witcher lore, the Doppler is a creature that can shapeshift and mimic other people, right? And it's kind of established that that's like a sentient person. That even though it mimics stuff, it has its own thoughts and its feelings and stuff like that, and you can just chop its head off. Strap it to your horse. That's beyond the pale, innit, Geralt? That's really going places. You've just got a guy's head.
Why have you got an issue with that head and not all the other heads?
Because they're just kind of evil beasties, isn't it?
Yeah, because the Doppler is actually like a person.
That's just a bloke. He's like a little kind of creepy bloke.
Don't you kill loads of blokes in The Witcher?
Not through choice. It's kind of the ludonarrative dissonance kind of thing that he's like, oh, I don't want to kill people, but then he just does.
Yeah.
Does.
The Doppler is just like you meet him in the story, and this is the Doppler that you can decide to kill, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's just a guy sort of cutting about trying to sort of
make his way. Just live a simple
Get by
life
in the world. Yeah.
And if you don't like the cut of his jib, head off on the horse.
You can decide to kill him, and his head becomes a trophy, and it's quite horrible. But I've never done that in my game because I'm a nice person.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really fit. But to kind of round off the thought, I think that The Witcher 3 has kind of the most in-depth and actual mechanically interesting horse armor, just of everything, because you think of the original Oblivion horse armor that was just like a kind of quirk of the time that it was. When was Oblivion? 2007?
2006, I think.
2006, and Bethesda just they kind of spun it that they literally didn't know how much to charge for this thing. That DLC was kind of new, and they were just like £13.50. I don't know, which, as we well know, what would that be now? Like 40 quid.
It was like $2.50. To be fair, it wasn't.
No, wasn't it? I thought it was 13 quid.
No, it was like, I think it was like 200 Microsoft points or something, which was like about $2.50.
That has really changed my perception of it. I thought the whole point of it was that it was like more than most games.
No. It was a cheap bit of DLC. Like, but
it was just brand new, right?
Yeah,
no one knew about paying for stuff back then.
You have to cast your mind back to a time when like the prospect of something that you might have to pay for was like unheard of. But it was the idea as well that like it was a very new concept. It was like, okay, so we've paid for the game, but now there's this sort of extra charge to unlock sort of really incidental content that people felt should have just been in the game. And then you get into the gray area of like, but what about expansion packs? And, DLC wasn't the first instance of expansion packs for games and blah, blah, blah. And there was a whole debate about it. But because Oblivion's Horse Armour was kind of the first like high profile thing to do it, that's why it became such a controversy. And now people are literally paying a tenner for Horse Armour in Diablo 4. So
another reason why Oblivion is the greatest game of all time. It shows you what you should be paying for. Shivering Isles, perfect, 10 out of 10. Horse Armour, 0.
Shivering Isles is probably the greatest DLC of all time, right?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
You got the Wabbajack, you're turning people into skivers. What are the Saints and Sinners called? I can't remember. The golden thingy-majigs and the other ones.
The Dark Seducers and the something.
That's it.
Called, yeah.
So greatest DLC of all time. Second greatest, Hearts of Stone. And that's why The Witcher 3 rules.
I'd agree with that. Unfortunately for everyone else, I would agree with that. So, all right. Need to pick something now, so we're going to play that jingle that Tom hates. Right,
Jim, before you make the choice, right, just want to ask a question. Who has experience with real horses? Anyone?
Does anyone here have experience with real horses?
I'm going to tell you in a minute about my experience with real horses.
Right.
About why I should have an advantage, because my experience with horses. Right, so is it no? Kelsey?
No.
James, you don't have a stable somewhere?
I once was walking my horse next to a busy road, and I was going to try and spin
that dog story.
Yeah, I was going to try and spin your dog story, but it was so unmemorable that I couldn't even remember what happened.
Everyone remembered at the time. It was quite a heartbreaking one that didn't have a heartbreak, if you remember rightly. But so I've stood up on a horse, right?
Right.
Literally, no one. Who else has done that? Really, not many people.
Did it have armor on?
Had like a saddle, which I guess you could say is armor.
It's not armor, though, is it?
Literally, imagine standing on a horse, Jim. Mm-hmm. Why would you even do that? It's ridiculous.
Because you're in a circus.
Yes. So I stood on a horse. I didn't let the horse move because I'm not like an idiot. My mum used to do like literally the horse would run around and she'd be stood up on it doing tricks and stuff. Yeah, like spinning around, jumping from horse to horse.
But it doesn't change the material fact, Tom, that Football Manager doesn't have horse armor in it.
I've been in a circus ring with horses running around me. Yeah, that's dangerous. Horses are very big.
Yeah.
Was your mum a circus performer?
Yeah,
that's well cool.
My dad used. It's a lion tamer, but I won't get into it. But
this isn't true, is it?
No, it is. It's
absolutely
James.
Tom will say something that sounds really like great and believable, and then he just says one thing, and I'm like, I can't believe any of it anymore.
This is 100% true. There was an article in Eurogame with photos. Yeah. Not Eurogame, it was on Video Gamer, but because of various things that have happened, it no longer exists.
Yeah.
But the point being that, and I wrote an article for Eurogamer about the circus that has some insight into it as well. My family's Chipperfields, so they have circus, right? Chipperfield Circus. They got a bit disgraced because of animal abuse. Let's gloss over that part.
Shouldn't have laughed at that. Sorry.
It's not funny, Jim.
It's
but essentially, horses. I'm familiar with horses. I've stood on a horse. Not many people have, so I have more insight into what is good horse armor. Yeah. And the other two choices are just rubbish.
You have a good insight into horse drama.
Horse armor.
Ben Armour. Yeah, it's one of these things. Like Tom is sort of like a bit like Bob Mortimer in that way, where he just tells you stuff about his life, and it sounds completely made up, but it turns out to be verifiably true later on. The circus performing aspect of his family history is entirely true. I've seen the photos. I remember that article he was talking about.
I've hugged a bear.
That is just so wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't have. They should not have bears.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a child, I didn't know any better.
It was the 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, all right, okay.
Was it a nice bear? Was it soft?
I
want to know more about this.
Was it a cub?
Baby bear.
That doesn't count.
Still could have ripped your face off. I mean, you've seen them.
Was this on top of a horse or on the ground?
No, they didn't mix them. Didn't mix the horse and the bears.
You can't mix circus animals, James. Don't be absurd. That would be the one part of that story that doesn't add up. Right. Okay, all right, let's put everyone out of their misery. So Football Manager doesn't have horse armor in it.
It kind of does. Cave of Verona does have horse armor. It has a depiction
of horse armor in it, as James pointed out, but that's not the argument that Tom made. So effectively,
that was not as emotive, was it, as the story of Ben Armour and his parents' love of Big Ben, the show jumping horse.
Is it actually true?
There's no documented evidence, but the community talk about it quite often.
What, the Football Manager community?
The show jumping community.
Are you involved in the show jumping community?
My aunt was big into horse training.
I can imagine that this is adjacent to the circus animal community.
It is, yeah.
All right, okay. Well, I'll give that to you as well. But Football Manager's not going to win because that would be absolutely absurd. I like Return to Monkey Island, but the problem with the Return to Monkey Island joke is that it's basically an offshoot of the Oblivion horse armor, isn't it?
That's the point. That's the whole point, Jim.
So it's almost like doing the Oblivion horse armor in a sort of cheating sort of way. What I like about the Witcher horse armor is the fact that it's not DLC, is it? There is no horse armor DLC for The Witcher. It's just in it. It's just in the game. It's useful.
Yeah, it's one of those cosmetic things with The Witcher that they just have. That it just does so many things like really well with a real attention to detail that where other games do just kind of be a smooth skin that's kind of textured onto the side of stuff. It feels like a really organic and like I said, interesting part of that world.
Unfortunately, we started off really boring and we're going to end really boring by picking The Witcher 3, the most boringly good game ever conceived. Is in fact it's fucking tedious now when people talk about how good The Witcher 3 is. It would be far more interesting if we did a podcast about how shit The Witcher 3 is. Unfortunately, for everyone, James has won again. So
now I've been declared victor. I can say that I tried to play The Witcher the other day, and when you do a save, when you try and replay the DLC, and you can just kind of jump in with like a pre-made thing.
Yeah,
the combat's really bad, isn't it?
Yeah,
he just kind of goes.
Just sort of roll around the big man,
sword and he's dead.
Yeah, The Witcher 3 is crap. All right, on that note, thanks very much for listening and watching, everyone. Please do leave us a 5-star review on the podcast reviews of your choice. I'm really hoping that we don't have to record one of these next week for reasons. But if we don't record one of these next week for reasons, the next week's episode will feature Bertie Purchase from Eurogamer, talking about Alpha Protocol and trains, if I remember rightly.
That's spoilers.
So, yeah. So that's
if you're not around though, Jim, will I not choose what goes up?
I've numbered them, Tom.
Have you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you'd been that professional about it.
I figured out an order for them because there's a continuity. Because otherwise, you're going to have people referencing stuff in the third one that hasn't happened until that one goes out. And
I've lost track of where we are. There's so many floating around.
I
just want to know before we go, James, does that fridge, does it dispense water or ice?
I literally never use it. Let's have a look. Shall we check live on the podcast?
Where are you?
This is judging by it saying water dispenser on it, I think it's probably water.
I think we have the same fridge.
Surely you've got to fill it up with water if it's going to dispense water.
Let's find out. You can see I've got this thing. Let's do it live on the podcast. You don't get this content anywhere else.
We should lock this behind a paywall.
I'm going to switch it from lock to unlock. That's the first time that's been done in literally years.
It's not going to work, is it? There's not water in it. You've got to fill it up. Where's that coming from?
Is that
inside the fridge?
So that's just water that's clinging to the walls of the fridge that's dripped down or something.
Over a period of literally years. There you go.
Don't drink it.
Yeah, don't drink it. So I've got one of them dispensers. I've had the fridge for 2 years, and that bit is horrible now.
Do you think that people give us 5 stars if I drink the water that's been in there for years?
Drink the manky fridge water, down it.
Isn't it?
Please don't down it. I think anyone who gets one of those water dispensing fridges, the kind that we're talking about, where you just fill a little thing in the tray, I'm pretty sure people use that for the first week.
Yeah.
And then they stop using it, and then it's just too manky to use.
Yeah, that's 100% what happened when we moved in. I was like, wow, this is fancy, this is great. Yeah. Forgot to use it, and now I cannot be bothered to clean it.
Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to clean. You have to get pipe cleaners and
Make sure you click the affiliate link in the description to buy the fridge.
Podcast is sponsored by Beco. All right, it's not, by the way, just to be clear.
I wish it was sponsored by anyone.
If anyone does want to sponsor the podcast, by the way, fridge companies, fridge magnet companies.
We can do this bit at the end of every episode if it helps.
Circuses.
Shall I be in front of a different appliance every time?
Yeah,
I can do it sat on the floor in front of an oven next time. I'm running out of appliances already. I've got a coffee maker. I'm just looking around the kitchen now.
TL. All right, okay. Right, okay, let's leave it there. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye. Please leave reviews, etc.